Hey everybody, this is Noah from One Exam Prep. Today we're talking all things Tennessee contractors, and I've got with me today one of our licensing experts, Andrew Gertz. Andrew, welcome.
No, thank you for having me. Thank you for taking the time. I understand today you were curious. You wanted to discuss a little bit about the path, how one goes about getting a contractor's license, specifically a building contractor's license in Tennessee, and I'm happy to do that. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, definitely. We've had a lot of interest in the past couple of months. Tennessee is really booming right now. We're getting calls every day from people who want to be contractors, people who want to up their capacity to do bigger jobs and to pull bigger permits. And we're finding that Tennessee to be one of the hottest markets in the country right now for construction. And I think it would be helpful to have somebody like you tell us everything we need to know about Tennessee contractors. So with that, where do you want to start?
So let's start. When do you need the license, right? That's the big question. Um, so for Tennessee, a state contractor's license is required whenever the contract to be performed is $25,000 or greater. Okay. If you're doing work on contracts less than $25,000, that's when the limited license plumber, limited license electrician, and something called a handyman license come into play. And we'll get to those at the end. But what I want to focus on is the state licenses to perform work contracts over $25,000. For the builders specifically, Tennessee has a number of different classifications. You have your BC dash uppercase A, which is your residential, your BC dash lowercase b, which is your small commercial. That is commercial projects up to 3 stories in height. Then you have your BC hyphen uppercase B, which is your full commercial, and then your BC hyphen C, which is your industrial. Now, you can test for any combination of these classifications. So, for example, if you wanted to be a residential small commercial, you would test for a residential small commercial combined license, if that makes sense. Whichever classification combination or classification singular you're going for, it's always going to be a three step process. Okay, and we always start step one. Step one for all of these, any scope, any of these classification combinations, it's going to be the same step, and that's your business management and law exam. Okay, this is an exam given by PSI. The exam fee is $57. It's an open book exam on one book, the Tennessee NASCA Contractor's Guide to Business Law, Project Management, fourth edition.
So,
Open
so,
book exam. Want to stress that. 50 questions, 140 minutes.
so Andrew, let's just talk about that for a second because, I think there's sometimes a misconception about um, uh, what is required, to become a contractor. And in Tennessee, it is required to first pass your business exam before you do a trade license on some of these licenses, correct?
So you can schedule the exams in whichever order you'd like, actually. Reason why I recommend to my students start with the business and finance. Generally speaking, not true for everybody, but in general, even though it's just the one book, it can be the more difficult exam. And that's because, and again, in general, not true for everybody, but in general, it's terms and concepts people are less familiar with. My experience, most people going to get the license, they're out in the field, they're building, right? They're familiar with those terms, those concepts. It's their bread and butter, it's what they do every day. They're less familiar with the terms and concepts around calculating your FICA tax or lien laws, bonding, labor laws, things like that, which is part of the reason I always recommend the students get the business and finance out of the way, get that one done. The second reason is it is only one book. So you get to go, you get to experience the testing environment, get your feet wet without having a number of books. The minimum number of books for a Tennessee Builder exam is 8. So going in with one book makes test day much more
And
manageable.
and and so that is open book, right?
Correct. Open book exam. 50 questions, 140 minutes. So just under 3 minutes a question on the exam. Important thing to remember about the exam, to your point, is it is open book. This is a reference book. You're not reading this book cover to cover. You don't memorize. What you want to do is you want to become a master of referencing the book. We find the best way to achieve that is through practicing referencing the book through practice exams. The more practice exams, practice questions you can do, the better. The goal, you want to be intimately familiar with every nook and cranny of the book. So when you read a question, the keywords will jump right out at you and you'll know exactly what section of the book to go to find the answer.
Got it. Okay. And just so I'm clear, I know that I don't know if you're going to get to this, but I know that in Tennessee there are some licenses that require pre-approval um, rather than, kind of that application at the end.
Right. So in Tennessee, the licenses that require pre-approval would be the CMC hyphen uppercase A and the CMC full mechanical contractor. What they both have in common is they include plumbing. The state of Tennessee requires pre-approval for any license that has plumbing in its scope. All the other licenses, you take the exams first. For the licenses that involve plumbing in their scope, you do the application first.
Okay, sounds good.
So business exam, 50 questions, 140 minutes, open book. You want to become a master of referencing the book. Once you get the business exam out of the way, that was step one. Step two is going to be your trade exam. This is also another open book exam. And depending on the classification or combination of classifications you're testing for, the number of questions on the exam, the time on the exam, and the number of books on the exam will be a little different. For the time on the exam, it always breaks down to roughly 3 minutes or just under 3 minutes a question. As far as the number of books on the exam, if you're going for a residential building license, you'll have 8 books. If you're going for a commercial, full commercial, you'll have 24 books. So wide range there.
So 24 books. So what happens? So somebody actually is going to bring in all 24 books into the exam?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we recommend it. You want to pass the exam. They're letting you bring the books in. The answers are in the books. So what they're letting you bring
So
the answers in.
how do you find when you're going through a test, how do you go through 24 books when you're trying to find that answer?
So it's very similar to how you do it with one book on the business exam. It's just on a grander scale. You're going to practice with each book individually, book by book practice questions, as many as you can get your hands on. You become a master of referencing each book. So then we have a course with final exams, exam simulators. When you get to those, the keywords will jump out at you if you did the book by book work, and you'll know exactly which book to be in. Same on the real thing, come test day. It's not insurmountable. A lot of people hear 24 books and they get overwhelmed. You take it a book at a time, practice with one, practice with the next one, practice with the next one. It takes some time, but anybody can become a master of referencing these books. It's very, very, very doable because remember, you're not memorizing anything. It's practice through repetition. The same way you would get good at shooting free throws on the basketball court or shooting pool, you just practice, 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 practice. And anybody can get this done.
It makes sense.
So that's step two, trade exam, open book exam. You want to bring all the books in with you to your point because the answers are in the books. All right. So they're letting you bring the answers into the exam. If you use a course like what One Exam Prep offers, we're going to unlock for you how to find the answers within the time limit, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So after you pass both your exams, step one, business finance exam. Step two, trade exam. All that's left is step three, and that's your application to the state. Okay.
And I know you put together a little presentation for us. Do you want me to go ahead and share that now?
Yep, if you could, please.
Okay. All right. So I know we talked about, Andrew, you want to take us through some of these slides?
Sure. So the basics. Tennessee Board for Licensing Contractors governs contractors. CMC and CMCA, those are the plumbing licenses we discussed that require pre-approval. The application comes first before the business finance exam, before the trade exam. All the other licenses, the building licenses, the electrical licenses, the licenses that are specific to HVAC only, the application is after.
Okay, right, we talked about that. Okay,
So again, licenses are required for any project over $25,000, any contract. Okay. There are smaller licenses that some counties will require you to have for performing the smaller contracts. One of those is what's called the state home improvement license. There's no testing involved with this license. This, you fill out an application to the state and they will generally approve you most cases. The application isn't as involved as as a state license application.
well,
For
it's interesting because, we obviously we work with, contractors all over the country. And in particular, Florida recently, over the past few years, have started to do away with their county licenses. And more that they're now kind of shifting people either into the no license for something, like painting or something like that, to where they're now requiring people to go to the state. And what we're seeing in Florida, which I could foresee in Tennessee, is that some of these county licenses who may be easy now because all you have to do is fill an application. One day when Tennessee might get their act together and they realize, well, let's make it conform everything so that now really we want as many state licenses as possible. People with those county licenses may be out of luck. So, what we're seeing is a lot of the Florida people, a lot of those Florida county contractors are now upping to the state and they're trying to do it quick to get ahead of the game. So I could foresee that in Tennessee. What do you think, Andrew?
I think it's leaning that way. That's an excellent point. I think it's leaning that way, and I'll tell you why. So the three we have here: home improvement, limited license electrician, limited license plumber. Some counties require them, some counties don't. So what I suggest to all my students is if you're doing work in multiple counties, right? If you want to open yourself up to the whole state and go for the state license. Okay. Cut through the red tape because you don't want to, oh, this county requires me to have this county requires me to have that, right? You don't want that. And absolutely correct. There's no exam for the home improvement license for those smaller projects, 3,000 to 24,099. However, the limited license electrician and the limited license plumber, they do require exams. And if that's something you're looking to get done, I tell all my students to think about it this way. Okay, you're going to go take an exam, fill out an application to get a license, right? That license covers you in some counties, doesn't cover you in others. I would strongly suggest just taking one more exam, okay? For these limited licenses, it's a trade exam that you're taking. So that one more exam would be that business and finance exam on one book. Take that one more exam and get the state license. Don't limit yourself, right? The last thing you want is to get a lead on a big job and then, oh, it's in this county over here where my on top of my LLE, now I need to go get the home improvement, or on top of my home improvement, now I need to go get the LLE, or maybe they have another local requirement on top of that that only applies to those who don't hold the state license.
Right.
So,
And and
um,
and by being a state licensed contractor, you're not going to be, you know, every county can make up their own rules at any given time, and they can decide, well, no, we're no longer going to honor this, or we're going to change the rules. But at the state level, we know that that's much harder to do. So you're much more protected, I believe, at the state level with the state license.
Again, excellent point. Excellent point. Let's say, you're working in a county that you need the LLP for the plumbing jobs less than 25,000. Excellent point, Noah, because it's not out of the realm of possibility that you go, okay, you spend the money on the books, on the prep course, you spend the money to take the exam, you take the time to submit the application, And a year or 2 years down the road, that county doesn't require the LLP anymore, or a year and 2 years down the road, it's a different requirement, right? Having the state license, as you pointed out, would protect you from that.
Right, right. Okay, I know we did outline all the licenses here and the name of the license as well as the number of questions and the number of minutes you have to pass those exams.
Yep. So as you see, that's all the different combinations of the different classifications. Okay.
And
Important thing to remember is these are all going to be open book exams. And if you do the math there, you're at about 3 minutes or just under 3 minutes a question for each exam. I just want to reiterate the point that these exams aren't about memorizing. They aren't about how well you build. They're about how familiar are you with those reference books and can you find the answers to the questions before you run out of time?
right, and then these are some of the other licenses as well. At the bottom, we have all of these have the same business exams with the 50 questions, 140 minutes.
Yep, just want to point out those two in the middle right there, the CMC full mechanical and the CMC-A mechanical plumbing. Those are the two that are application first instead of application last. For those two, you submit the application before you take the exams. So still a three-step process for those two. Just instead of the application being step three, it's now step one.
Got it. Yeah, good point. All right, now I know we're gonna talk about the actual application itself, and this is for $25,000 and over projects.
Yep, so state licenses. Okay, step one. 99.9% of my students, they're getting the license to qualify their business. Okay? Make sure that your business is registered with the Tennessee Secretary of State. Step two is your experience. On the application, you're going to have to demonstrate 3 years of experience working under a licensed contractor who holds a license of equal or greater scope than the license you're going for. Give you an example. Say I'm going for my residential builder's license, okay? I've been working for a combined residential commercial contractor, okay? I can put my experience under his license and I'm good to go. Alternatively, though, if I'm working for a residential contractor and I want to go for a combined residential commercial, I could show my residential experience under the residential contractor, but for I would have to show commercial experience under someone else. So 3 years of experience you're showing. Contractor's affidavit. This pertains to the business being qualified. It's going to ask you confirm who has an ownership stake in the business, and you're going to have to disclose any to your knowledge, no one's had any bankruptcies, things like that. References, okay? The state is going to require you to get a letter of recommendation, essentially, from either a building inspector, a licensed contractor, or a customer who is familiar with your work. Okay, you don't need one from all three. You just need one from one of those three. So again, it's a customer, a building inspector, or a licensed contractor who's familiar with your work. Power of attorney for qualifying agent. If as the qualifying agent, you don't have a majority stake in the business of at least 20%, you're going to have to appoint power of attorney to whomever has the final say on the financial matters relating to the business. Workers' comp exemption. A lot of students, when they're first getting their license, they don't have any employees yet. If they have employees, they need to get workers' comp insurance. If they don't have any employees, they need to file for the exemption. Citizenship eligibility. This is a big one because it's a common misconception. You do not need to be a United States citizen to get the contractor's license in Tennessee. You will have to show proof that you're here legally, but you can still get the license. Financial statements. What the state of Tennessee is going to do is when you get the license, they're going to limit the amount of contract that you can take on based on either your net worth or the working capital of your business. Generally, they're going to 10x both of them, and whichever is lesser, that will be the limit of the contract that you can undertake. So, for example, if say you had 10 grand net worth and 12 grand working capital in your business. Because the net worth is lesser, they would 10x it, they would get 100 grand, and that would be the limit of the contract that you could undertake. Corporate documents from the Secretary of State. Again, this is confirming your business is registered, up to date on taxes, fees, and it's active. Exam scores, that's obvious enough. You have to pass your exams to get your license. Certificate of insurance. This is a big one. And this is something that we can help with. All right. They're going to want to see general liability insurance on the company you're qualifying. Our sister company, One Insurance Solutions, specializes in getting new contractors, new business owners, the best rates on their general liability. And then lastly, the state needs their piece of the pie. You got to give them 250 bucks.
So, but Andrew, in general, if now we do offer a application service for anybody who wants someone to do this, but our department can handle the entire process for them. Is that correct?
Yep, absolutely correct. So we have a team of specialists who this is what they do. If you're looking to me, if you're looking at this list, if you're watching me explain everything and it seems really dense, confusing even, not to worry. We have a team of specialists who this is their expertise. They'll walk you through each one of these steps, the entire application line by line, and they make sure it's prepared perfectly. And then they send it off to the state. This avoids any delays, any back and forth with the state. Okay?
So these are the licenses that are under $25,000 that we talked about.
Yep, we
So this
covered those. The only thing I would like to add real quick before we end here is there is a caveat to the residential builder's license. Okay, and I want everyone to be aware of this. So if you want to get a residential builder's license, but you only plan on building single family homes, contracts valued $125,000 or less, many community colleges in the state have a course you can take which will exempt you from both the business and finance and the trade exams. This would get you what's known as a BC hyphen uppercase A slash lowercase R license. You will be good to build residential single family homes, contracts valued under $125,000. Okay. Now, that's a great avenue for some, but for most, I don't generally suggest it because as your business grows, if you want to take on larger projects to go over that $125,000 amount, you're going to have to test anyway. So it's a great way to get started for some, but it's just adding steps down the road.
got it. Okay. And question, do you have any idea why they named them all these weird license names or just that's the way it is? It's
So
definitely the state that has the most hyphens I've ever seen
yeah.
here.
So a couple things with the hyphens. Things to pay attention to. Size matters, right? BC dash uppercase B is different than BC dash lowercase b. Lowercase b is small commercial, uppercase
Mhm.
B is the full commercial. Okay. I don't know this for sure, but I like to think the BC stands for building contractor. Okay. I have no idea where they got the A from. Okay. I have no idea. And then um, for the plumbing and the mechanical, the CMC licenses, like to think that's certified mechanical contractor, and then the hyphen and the next letter is the classification. Why A is plumbing, I could not tell you.
Okay. Well, this is, a lot of information, and I'm glad we got you to kind of help us walk through it all. I know there's a lot of questions. What's the best way someone can reach out to you and get more information on specific situations related to them specifically?
So my email is Andrew, Andrew, at oneexamprep.com. And that's the numeral one from the keypad. Don't spell out one. And my direct office line is 954-233-0153. At
Great.
One Exam Prep, I take great pride in helping the students who come to me get licensed, and we really have the tools and the products to maximize their success, Noah. For the courses or for the exams,